Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. We broadcast on Monday nights to the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com page. That's a support page, not the theatercriticism.com website. And also, of course, to our own YouTube channel. Those of you who are in the audience tonight are in for a special treat. We have two halves of the show. 8 to 8:30 will be Rivertown, and then from 8:30 until 9, we will talk with members of the Crescent City Stage. But for right now, without going into too much rigmarole, I want everybody to know, if you'd like to make a comment tonight, please go to https://facebook.com/StreamYard if you'd like your comments to show up with your name. If not, we will see your comments as Facebook user. So keep that in mind. Tonight, we are very pleased and very proud to be able to present the director of the current production of Kinky Boots. It's playing on the stage at Rivertown Theaters for the Performing Arts, and that is none other than Donald Jones Jr. Donald, welcome to our program. We appreciate your being here, and again, you are from here originally.
Yes.
You of course went to Northwestern Louisiana up in Natchitoches, and as I said, only people from this area would know how to, after looking at it, how to pronounce it properly. And
Yes.
and after you graduated, you went essentially to Broadway, correct?
No, it was not that. I wish it was that easy. No, not necessarily. I actually worked at a couple of regional theaters.
Yeah.
One in Jackson, Mississippi, one in Fort Collins, Colorado, and then did a year and a half on second national tour of The Color Purple. And then I actually spent 2 years in Seattle in a dance company. So it was at least 5 or 6 years before I even made it to New York to make my Broadway debut.
And we should let everybody know that you were on stage in Frozen, right? And that was your original cast debut on Broadway, or were you on
No, my
something else?
original cast debut was actually in 2013 with Aladdin. Was originally in the ensemble and understudied the genie. And then I went to do Chicago the musical, and I did that for about 6 months. And then after that, I did a couple of shows on and off Broadway. One, Sweet Charity with Sutton Foster. I did a production with Carnegie Hall as Bernardo in West Side Story. And then I was in Frozen, made my original Broadway debut, not cast with Frozen. And that was in 2019. 18.
Now, Frozen, of course, everybody knows it was just here in February. Did you get a chance to go see that?
I did. And I was actually so happy to see it in my hometown and actually able to see the show in a different, new environment.
Yeah, it really is a special effects, bonanza. It's basically a lot of special effects in that show, and for the kids especially to see, the big costume change in Let It Go, and just some of the other effects that they have with the snow, etc. It's really something special. Now, again, I wanted to back up a little bit though. So originally, I believe the Aladdin was 14? Was that about right? 2014?
2013.
2013. So I remember that it was at the New Amsterdam, right? That they had that production.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember all the people in it, but I know that you said you understudied the genie, huh?
The genie, yeah. James Monroe Iglehart played that role originally, won a Tony for it. So anytime I went in for him, there was like a lot of shoes to fill, but I did my part for sure.
I'm just trying to see if maybe my sometimes my memory escapes me, but I think I may have actually met James Monroe.
Yeah, you did.
So again, you understudied for, but did you go on during the time?
Him? many times.
Many times.
I went on every at least once a month, sort of a thing. I was the understudy, so I was in the show every day. But definitely went on a lot because that is a very taxing role. There was a standby for that role as well.
Yeah.
And I was one of only 2 people who were able to actually understudy the role in the show every night, and then also perform it. And there was a week then when James was out on vacation and our standby was sick, and I was actually on for pretty much the whole week. So I got a lot of chances to go and perform that role. Honestly, one of my favorite times performing it too was when Julia Roberts and her family came to see the show. So me and my friend Joshua Dela Cruz, who also understudied Aladdin, got to do the show for Julia Roberts and her family, which is pretty awesome.
I have to say, that must have been a big thrill the first time you went out to do that. That role, the genie, is just a beautiful role, and you really get to take over the stage completely. I mean, you are center and you are the focus of everybody right there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever a time. I would hope, but I don't know.
Friend like me, that's it.
Perform a role like that again. So I'm very fortunate that I got to do that.
Yeah. Now Michael James Scott, right? He did the role too after he'd been in Australia. I got to meet him originally backstage when he was doing Something Rotten. He left Something Rotten and then he went and did the tour of Australia for about a year or so. So he knew what the genie role was, and then he came to Broadway with it. So again, and of course James Monroe Iglehart, everybody should know right now, is back on stage in Hamilton as Thomas Jefferson, correct?
I believe he's still doing that, but there might be something else that he might be in more current.
Okay.
But that was the last thing that I know for sure that he was in.
Yeah, last I heard he was there. So anyway, a great opportunity for you. And again, you are here tonight because we're going to talk about the show that's on board at the Rivertown Theaters Performing Arts. And again, for those of you who don't know, it is indeed the regional premiere of Kinky Boots, because we have seen a national tour, and it was, of course, on Broadway, but it's never been done by a local company. So Rivertown Theaters, kudos for bringing and there's a lot of moving parts to this. It's a fantastic book by Harvey Fierstein, wonderful music by Cyndi Lauper, and again, the two of them really worked very well together in crafting the book, so that the book and the music and lyrics went hand in hand. And I saw it originally, as you might imagine, with the original cast. I got to meet Billy Porter, and I also met several of the other members of the cast. But it was a great pleasure to see that show. And again, Kinky Boots on stage now at the Kenner Rivertown Theater for the Performing Arts. Of course, it's two theaters. They have the main theater, which is where this is, and then they have theater, I guess the Lanyap stage as well as it goes. Yes. Tell me, when you found out you were going to direct this, how did they contact you? Was it Kelly? Was it Gary? Was it a committee that reached out to you? How did this happen?
Initially Kelly, and I think she got my name from Carl Harrod, who ended up being our musical director.
Yes. Yes.
And they reached out to me and asked if I were interested in the production. And when they initially asked me, I didn't know if they were asking if I wanted to be a part of it or if I wanted to direct it. But I soon let Kelly know that I was more interested in directing and choreographing that production. Since being back home, my interest has definitely been more on the other side of the table, being a creative and sort of setting shows as opposed to performing in them. Yeah. But
so,
very
and Carl Harrod, I believe Kelly knows him from working with him at her Encores group that she has, the dance studio that she maintains as well.
Yeah.
So she's not just at Rivertown. She has Encore, and so Carl's worked with her doing music, etc. So well known to Kelly from the get-go. And again, did you assemble all the cast on your own? I mean, for this from the get-go, or did you know some of these people already?
It was actually really difficult to cast this show because it's very, very specific, and we know we needed a certain level of talent, especially for our Angels and Lola for this production, because it's really focused around that drag element. And though New Orleans has a huge drag scene and has many queens, we definitely needed some that could sing and dance and be on stage and be ready to do this multiple times a week, and also have the freedom to come to rehearsals regularly. So we had auditions initially, and in that audition, we maybe found 2 or 3 potential angels. One of them who ended up staying with us, Violet. But the other three angels I was able to sort of source from my experiences here around the city. Frankie Kanga, a local drag artist here in New Orleans, and then Joshua Bell he is a dancer here in the city. He's danced with Marigny Opera Ballet, a friend of mine from other work opportunities. And then Jacob Starks, we actually went to Northwestern State University together. We were looking for one drag queen personality to fill in that spot. And I saw him on Instagram. I was like, hey, are you available to come and do this show? He said yes. He came back home to Louisiana. And that's where we found our angels. And our Lola was actually doing a production of Kinky Boots just before she got to us. And so we were able to lock him in, and he came and has really been tearing the show apart. And we're so grateful to have Joshua Abbott lead the show. Joshua
Abbott is absolutely incredible. Matter of fact, after the show was over yesterday, I got a shot of without the Lola gear. And again, we're going to show some other pictures as far as that goes. But I guess I have to say that I've seen the national tour. I've seen this production obviously, and I saw original as I mentioned with Billy. And again, he was very, very good in it. But the person who actually played on the national tour, I thought did maybe a better job as a drag queen than Billy Porter.
Was that Jay Harrison?
Yeah, I believe so. He was fantastic as a drag queen. Billy Porter was an actor portraying a person as a drag queen. And he did a fantastic performance, but it was a whole different kind of layered performance. And I think because Harrison had been a drag performer earlier, he knew the little nuances of how to really sell it, Yeah. And so, and I think the same thing could be said, for Joshua, for those. And I don't want to spoil the whole thing for you as far as it goes, but you will see some pictures as far as it goes. Lola has her angels, and 3 of the 4 angels are indeed drag queens, and one of them portrays a drag queen, but is in reality Violet. We'll have a picture of her later on that we're going to show as well, but she's actually a woman. Again, now I'm not getting into pronouns and stuff yet because we have to go further down that trail too. Your other lead actor identifies with they and them pronouns, so I have to be very careful about all of that too. Again, it's important. When I grew up, these things were not very important to people, but it's important to people as they've grown up now for their own acceptance and for people to be able to appreciate them and accept them, that we try to be conscious of the fact that if they tell you to use a particular set of pronouns, whether it be because they are cisgender or transgender, whatever, that you have to be respectful of that. And I certainly understand that and appreciate it. In terms of your angels, I have to ask, were they all local or were they?
3 of the 4 are local. So Violet, Joshua, and Frankie are all local residents to New Orleans.
Okay, so Violet we know is the second from the left to Lola's right, or to our left as we see her. So which ones are Violet is definitely, and you said
yes, Frankie and the blonde updo, and then Joshua with the braids all the way
on the other. So the one that's not is all the way on the extreme left then.
Yes, screen left, and he is from Louisiana, but has recently just been working on cruise ships. And I caught him just before he was going back to New York City to come home and do this production.
Now again, how much lead time did you have to prepare for this?
I had about a month before we started rehearsals, so it took some time. We had rehearsals in June, I believe, and we had callbacks. And even after 2 or 3 rounds of that, we still weren't able to find everybody. The hardest role actually to cast was of young Simon. I think for me, I was kind of nervous trying to see if I can find a young Black boy whose Black mother would allow him to dance around on stage in heels. And it took us until maybe 3 weeks before we opened the show to find the exact person that we needed. And just so happened that his name is also Donald James, who plays young Simon, and his mother and father would come to rehearsals and be there to support him. And he was so excited. When he saw the stage for the first time, his eyes lit up. And the first day of rehearsal, him and his mom came, and he was dressed the part, including the glittery red heels. So we knew from that moment on that he was supposed to be a part of the show.
I don't have a picture of him after the show, though. I have to say, I met him, his mother, and he was just an adorable kid, you know, and just having a blast. Again, that's the young Simon. He also had another young as well who was on the stage. And
young Charlie.
I was so happy to see that you all did not cut out the children's parts, because in the national tour, when they were coming by, the children's parts were cut. I guess for the exigencies being back, they would have to have them on the road. They would have to have 2 or 3 of those children to play those roles because of the child labor laws, etc. And so it probably was not expedient for them to have a real child actor. Although, you know, I oftentimes wonder if they couldn't get, you know, an actor cast and say, bring your kid too, you know, so that might have worked, but you never can tell. But, you know, it is very difficult for kids on the road. I mean, Billy Elliot was a great example of that. You know, they had 3 different Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, 3 different Charlies throughout the week, and they would play 2 or 3 times a week, and they would rotate, etc. Yeah, you know, I didn't find out what you were drinking tonight. What are you doing?
Dirty martini with blue cheese stuffed olive.
Oh, you are making me so jealous. The blue cheese stuffed olives. Now, do you stuff them yourself, or do you buy them from somewhere?
I bought them stuffed, but
okay, all right, no problem. Well, I'm having to cover mine up because I don't know if you've had a problem like I've had in my house. I've been killing fruit flies for the last week, so I have to cover up my drinks. But this is the last of my Abalore. I'll put it over here if I can get to show it. 12-year-old Scotch, very, very good Scotch. If you've not had this before, I recommend it very highly. It drinks very well, and again, I have to cover it up so the fruit flies won't get there. But I'm using, by the way, I don't know if you're familiar with these. Yeah, these are made by Norland, and let's see if I can get the Norland, and they're whiskey glasses that have a double relation to them, so the heat of your hands do not heat up the Scotch, you know, or whatever you might be drinking, bourbon or whatever. So if you're drinking your Pappy Van Winkles, that's what you want to have, that kind of glass, so you don't make it evaporate any more than it needs to. Let's get back to Kinky Boots, because, you know, I know we only have half of the show to dedicate to. I've shown a couple pictures. Again, you've got Simon all the way on the left. Now that of course would be Lola. What Lola would be in male clothing, and then some of the other cast members, including, of course, you've got I think Anna Marie Shaw there as well as Lauren.
Yes,
and again, we mentioned earlier, Justice Hughes is all the way on the end, and that's Charlie.
Yes.
Now on Broadway, Charlie was played by Stark Sands.
And so talented.
Yeah, and if you notice, I have my CD cover upside down because I was so excited about seeing Charlie. But Stark was wonderful too. He, you know, was fantastic. I wish that I could have taken everybody with me to see Kinky Boots on Broadway at the Al Hirschfeld Theater. It was fantastic. It was just one of the top, you know, experiences in theater that I had. Just, you know, beautiful and funny. I mean, it is a funny script. I mean, it's
got everything in it.
You know, it's got pathos. It's got, you know, relationships going awry, etc. And again, I think the biggest point that it makes is both of these boys growing up have father issues in terms of how they are going to please or not please their fathers and the way that they have to deal with it. You know, one boy doesn't necessarily want to run his father's shoe factory, and the other boy would like to wear women's clothes. You know, I mean, at least, you know.
Yeah, I think it's less father issues, because I think they had some sort of relationship with their father. For me, it was just the expectation that the parents had of them that was the real issue.
But it weighs on them. It makes them feel like they're not quite fulfilling their destiny for their fathers, and again, that's reflected in the music. I'm not the image that he dreamed of, etc. With the strength of Sparta and the patience of Job. All those images that Cyndi Lauper puts in those songs, fantastic. And I think that people who have not seen Kinky Boots, whether it be on the national stage, as far as the tour at the Sanger perhaps, or on Broadway, are going to be very pleased with this local production. There's a lot to be very, very happy that you all are doing this. This is again the young lady who plays Nicola with
Madeline Bourgeois,
and she's quite wonderful. I saw her after the show was over, and she was beaming, very, very happy. And I know that we mentioned Justice. Justice posed after the show was over. I got a shot of him and Violet the Angel. And again, they were very kind to pose. And also two of your, I guess you might say, ensemble, but wonderful players as well. Ray Ciano on the right. And again, Michael John Smith, who plays Don. Yeah. Now, I don't know. Do you know about Michael? Do you know what he did previously? Do you know what his...
I worked with Michael in Fly.
Okay, but do you know what he did previous to that for like 30 years?
He was a military drill sergeant, wasn't he?
Yeah, in the Marines, with the band that played at the Mardi Gras Ball Center. So, and this is a whole new gig for him. And he is a wonderful presence on stage. I just wish that, I would see more of him in some of these roles. A big guy, a real big guy. And again, sometimes they say, the really big, tall guys, the guys, have the sweetest, kindest personalities. And and he comes across that way for me. So again, Kinky Boots playing on stage at Rivertown. And again, it just opened this weekend, and it goes all the way to
September 25th. Oh no. I'll drink to that. Uh-huh. Am I frozen or are you frozen, Alan? Should I keep talking? Oh, maybe it is just me. Okay. So if you don't know, Kinky Boots is playing at Rivertown Theater in Kenner, Louisiana. We have shows this upcoming weekend. This is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this upcoming weekend. And then the following weekend, it will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So please come out and buy tickets. It's a really fun, uplifting show filled with a lot of great dance and music and joy. Okay, got you. I was trying to fill in for you while you were gone.
No. It's very strange. Sometimes the internet will just drop out. And it's funny because I have fiber and I should not have that kind of a problem. But sometimes it happens, and you filled in the occasion. We have the other people who are going to be showing up at 8:30, starting to show up as well. Tell me again a little bit about Kinky Boots in terms of what it was that you found the most difficult to do with this staging. Where you had to kind of think out of the box. Were there any instances where you kind of had to kind of assume your director's hat and say, well, we're going to do this? Because the costumes, I don't know if you created the costumes, if Daniel Rigamer created them, or whether or not they were rented, but they were fantastic costumes.
We rented some of the costumes, but I was so specific in the vision that I had for the show that there were some things that came with the rental that we did not use because I didn't feel like it fit our angels. So I went out with him to find our opening looks for the angels. And then I went on Amazon for the finale looks because I just knew that they had to fit the personalities of our angels. And so my mom is a seamstress, so I'm not, a stranger when it comes to sewing and fixing things together and putting looks together. So those finale looks are sort of the vision that I had for each of those angels based off of how I know them and how they sort of developed in the show. But one of the hardest numbers for me to sort of stage was Everybody Say Yeah, because in that number originally on Broadway, they have these conveyor belts that are treadmills and they're walking on them.
Yes.
And them. And we knew we weren't getting those. And I was trying to figure out what would be the best way to use all of that music because I didn't want to cut any of it. I felt like there was a lot of storytelling that we could do. And so that's what I just chose to do in that dance break. That musical dance break is almost 2 or 3 minutes long. So I just tried to do as much storytelling as opposed to like just straight up choreography because there's so much history and community within that factory and in the show in general that I needed the audience to sort of see how everyone sort of banded together and worked together. Other things that I thought were interesting about the show when I saw it initially is that the angels were sort of, I felt like ornamental for some of the musical numbers. Like, they use the angels in Land of Lola and Sex on the Hill and sort of come in and do fierce dancing and some singing and they kind of go off. But in this production, I really wanted the sense of community and the LGBTQ plus community to be seen on stage. And so I brought the angels into 3 scenes in the show that they're not typically in. One being the dressing room with Charlie and Lola, just to sort of have that environmental space where Charlie is sort of like the odd man out. Charlie and Lauren in that scene are the odd man out and sort of feel uncomfortable. And then also in What a Man, I brought the angels in because at that point, I feel like the angels are becoming a part of the work family and they're getting understood and accepted by some of the factory workers. And also bring them in the end when Lola is talking about why are we using fashion models when we have beautiful angels and drag queens who could do their own hair and their own makeup. Like I felt like in the show proper, Lola was, speaking for them as opposed to their presence being an important part of it. And so I felt in this production, it was very, very important for me to show the community that, queer people have with each other and how that sort of plays out in everyday life. And that support sort of just helps the through line with this show for me.
Well, I have to say the other thing too was your choreography. I mean, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And that's not exactly a large stage. You don't have a lot of wing space. So, for you to actually, be inventive, et cetera, and you were not necessarily copying, the original choreography. I mean, you had your own inventive styles that you did. And I think the Angels routines were reflected in what you obviously had put out there for them to do. So, and what they did was, yes, they were supportive of. They also, commanded the attention of the audience. I know that during intermission, I heard one gentleman who was a little bit maybe older than me say, they actually have one girl in the Angels, and that's who I'm looking at. And I looked at him and I said, no, you're looking at all of them. I know. And his wife started laughing. He says, oh, no, I'm just looking at the girl. I said, methinks he doth protest too much. And everybody laughed.
There's no need to say that if that's what you're really doing.
But anyway,
this show is important to this community, that people need to sort of be sat down and presented with different cultures, different people, different bodies, just for it to seem normal to them in some way or fashion. So, I mean, the world around us is changing, and I feel like this show is going to help with that. Parts of the show too, I just wanted to add, because this show opened initially in 2012, sorry.
12, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even in the 10 years that the show has sort of, been with us, things around the LGBTQ plus community have sort of changed, just with pronouns and gender fluidity. So one of the lines in the show that Lola starts off with is, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you who have not made up yet your mind. I was like, I don't know if that really sort of fits within the world today, 10 years later. So we just adjusted it so that it says, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between. So that it's more encompassing, more welcoming, and less exclusive.
Yeah. A great show, great direction, great choreography. I highly recommended. Again, it's a big show and a lot of moving parts. Rivertown Theaters of the Performing Arts. I don't know whether or not you're familiar with Dr. John Ray Proctor
Yes.
at Tulane University. Well, that's one director to another. I'd like to bring him in if you don't mind. And as we change our brand from Rivertown Theaters to the Crescent City Stage, I'm going to thank you again for being with us tonight, Donald Jones Jr. And thank you again for doing all you did to make Kinky Boots the I think success that it is, and will be continue until the 25th. And I'm going to at this point say goodnight to you and welcome in Ray. Okay.
Good night.
Two directors to each other. You can say hello.
Cheers.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Donald. Appreciate it. All right. And Ray, it's just now you and me. What are you drinking there tonight as we talked about what we have to bring in the room?
English breakfast tea, because I've got work to do.
Understood. This is the way I do my work. Okay. So we're going to bring in the other guests for tonight for the second half of our show, who, of course, is the executive and founder of Crescent City Stage. But before I do, I just wanted to congratulate you. You were the director of Into the Woods at Summer Lyric. Yes. And you were so successful that they decided to do the staging on Broadway now. So, no, very good job, though. This year, again, before we start to talk about Crescent City Stage, I just wanted to give a little kudo to you for all that you did to make that happen as well. So now let's bring in Michael Newcomer, the executive director and founder of the Crescent City Stage. Again, Michael, you're right on time, and we appreciate you all being here. We had already booked Donald for the first half of the show, so it's fabulous that you're able to join us. And I will not get to see Pantomine until I think Wednesday. I think is that when I'm supposed to come, either Wednesday or Thursday, whenever you're doing your next show. So Thursday. So so I will not get to see it until Thursday, and I think that is that's right. Because I won't be able to review Stepping Out until the following Thursday, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. We broadcast the show on Thursday now, which is good and it's bad. It's good because now we can actually promote Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows as opposed to just Saturday and Sunday when we were broadcasting on Friday night. So we're glad to be there. So again, those of you out there who have an opportunity to perhaps maybe make a comment, that's what you need to do is go to https://facebook.com/StreamYard. That allows the Facebook application to work with StreamYard and allows your names to show up. And again, that's important because the comments will, when they come in, I'll throw them up and people will be able to see what's going on. So again, we have two very established professionals, and part of what you did in founding this company, Michael, was to reach out to professional actors, people who wanted to go in a professional way in terms of forming your company, who were associated mostly with Actors Equity. I think the entire cast that you've got are equity actors, and that you're going to continue to try to reach out to equity performers moving forward. Is that correct?
No, but close. Mike is not equity, but I'm proud to say that I would say that we are a union shop. We're aiming to be a regional professional theater using an Actors Equity contract. But what I'm most proud of is that our mission of diversity and sustaining wages for all of our artists is being met with our inaugural production of Pantomime. So while Mike is not a member of Actors Equity, Mike is treated as though he is such in our sustaining wage model. So I think, as you know all too well, Alan, the union jobs are few and far between in New Orleans, and we hope to be kind of a beacon of the future of that, of being able to offer those contracts across the board.
Yeah, well, we are a right-to-work state here, and that means essentially a lot of places where you go, like to New York, they're union shops, and the states basically protect whether it's actors or whatever union, they protect people more with the unions. Here in Louisiana, we have not been as vigilant, as protective of union rights. There were some strong unions, I should say, but Actors Equity was something that you were involved in on a local level here, or regional level, I should say. You worked through the Chicago office at one point.
I was nationally elected labor leader for Actors Equity. I served on national council, so I was I represented the country, but I represented the country from New Orleans, which was the first time in the history of the union that we had regional representation. I was elected from the central region, but I served on national council for 4 years. Yeah.
And Crescent City Stage seems to have started up just before COVID, a year or two or so. Was that when you?
I think we could argue 4 weeks before COVID.
Okay.
We set out in February of 2020.
Okay.
And then March 13th happened, and it all went into the waste.
I knew you were here prior, right?
Yes, I've been in New Orleans since 2014.
Right. That's why I said I thought maybe it was a little bit before that, but I know that you and your entourage, your cast members, company members, were actually performing on the internet, similar to some of the things that I was doing. People in the acting community to be able to perform, flex their artistic muscles, as it were, and allow them to do readings and things of that sort. I know you were doing some Shakespeare at one point.
We did 8 shows over the course of about 19 months. As you know, the theater industry was shut down entirely for 9 months.
Yeah.
New Orleans took a little bit longer to get back up and running, and because we're union, we weren't able to get on stage, a little bit longer than other theater companies. And so we pivoted online, as many people did. We found great success. And it gave us the opportunity to really slow down and put into place our foundation, our business model, our thinking, our mission statement, our vision. And then when, COVID started to back off a little bit and we found a window that we could actually get live on stage, it just took 2 years. But we did eight virtual readings over the course of 2021 into 2022.
Were any of them original, or were they all? There were some original.
Yeah, we did a piece called "This Living Hand." Richard Terry, a four-hander. It's a really fantastic that we were able to do, and then we did a lot of classics. Partly because we had the opportunity to work with our colleagues from all over the country. So we did shows that we thought could be popular for a brand, Crescent City Stage, that wasn't known yet.
Right.
But we had over 4,000 views on our 8 virtual readings. We were able to use that as leverage to kind of start doing brand awareness for when we were able to really launch.
Yeah.
And it kept us busy. It gave us something to do because there wasn't anything. So, TV and film ramped up pretty quick.
No, I understand, and I had, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I had served as a producer for a lot of the works that we were doing. John Bigonnet worked with us, and again, thank God for John. He gave us all 3 of his plays to do, and he sort of donated them. We didn't have to pay performance fees, etc. And all the actors donated their time. And unfortunately, our director passed away. Due to COVID. We just, had some wonderful people working together. Even, some of the people I was hoping to get passed away from COVID. Carol Sutton, close friend of mine, was hoping to be on the show. And unfortunately, every time I would talk to her, I don't feel yet ready to do it. We're going to do it. She was a surprise guest when I had Janet Shea on. So I felt great that she was there. And she also performed with the people who were talking about the early days with the Dashiki Divas, et cetera. And, we had a number of people there, including Adele Gautier, who was, of course, also passed due to another health issue. But, let me get back to Ray before we talk about all these things that we've done. Is it okay? I'd rather than perform and call you doctor all the time. If you don't mind, am I calling you Ray? Is that okay tonight? Or
you can absolutely call me Ray.
Okay, you can call me Ray. And look. The thing is you're the director of this piece. It's a 2-hander, and I was so amazed to read a little bit about it because Derek Walcott was apparently from St. Lucia, and of course considered, I guess you might say, the poet laureate of the Caribbean at one point, well known for his poetry, and he received a Nobel laureate for his work, not necessarily for this play, but he wrote plays that were provocative, and I would say that this particular play is definitely provocative in the way it makes you want to think about about reversal of roles and things of that sort. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, it is accurate. It's about the colonial period and the post-colonial period, if you will, and what happens when the colonizers leave a state. So we're looking at power dynamics. We're looking at race relationships. I think about what happened in South Africa. I think about what happened here in the United States. So yeah, it's specifically dealing with the colonial period and what happens right after colonizers leave. And I think it's particularly poignant that the play opened. Queen Elizabeth passed away on Thursday, and the play opened on Friday.
Right. And I was noticing there are a lot of protest signs in some of the areas in the Commonwealth saying, you are colonized, and again, bringing that out once again for people who are not, familiar that Queen Elizabeth is the figurehead, if you will, the head of state for many of these nations, some of whom are independent, but some of whom are still very much aligned with the constitutions and owe that to the past practices of the British Empire, and it is interesting that she did pass away at that time, just as you opened up the doors. So, Michael, does that you didn't have anything to do with it, I know, but does that make you?
I would have preferred for it to not to happen. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
God rest the Queen. And King Charles actually said in his speech on, I think it was Saturday, he actually spoke to all of those places where the monarchy still has control, and there's a narrative, of course, that that under the new leadership that will change, which is, we'll see what happens in that regard in terms of the future of the monarchy and their occupation of other places. But I think the play is a beautiful snapshot, certainly from Derek's perspective of growing up in St. Lucia. And I think it's we separate the death of the Queen. We separate pre-colonial, colonial, post-colonial times, and we look at this piece as an independent piece of art, and it is timeless in its narrative of two human beings standing beside one another and giving themselves permission to have an incredibly difficult conversation that ultimately results in a little step forward of humanity and compassion and understanding. No Hollywood ending, no right answer, no wrong answer. But it is, and Ray and I have been talking about this play for years. For us in producing it, it's what theater does best, which is holds up a mirror to the society in which we exist and live, and talks about the social issues at the core of how we are functioning as a society. And Derek does an amazing job of couching it in humor and in this really bizarre, fun, crazy story of Robinson Crusoe and flipping that script.
And those of you who don't know, it is essentially the Robinson Crusoe and his man Friday swapping roles. And again, I guess you have to see the show. It runs what, 90 minutes or so?
It's a brisk 91 minutes, if I remember how to do everything. But yeah, it's without intermission, 91 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you all started at 7:30, and the show with the Tennessee Williams Theater Company closed for Summer Hotel also is a 90-minute presentation, and both of you end around the same time. So on the Loyola campus,
yeah. But how great is that, though, Alan? That Loyola is home to two great productions going on. You can't see two shows at one time.
Yeah, no, and Tulane does it all the time with the Shakespeare Festival. Ray knows that well. That they always are doing things together. The Shakespeare Festival will be doing something. Summer Lyric will be doing something, or perhaps just there'll be a recital. So there's a lot of activity, and Roussel Hall with all the music, etc. Yeah, I mean it's fabulous that we have those universities, and again, it's wonderful that you've been able to get Hall, which is where your production is going on. Again, I don't know. I believe you have one more performance scheduled for Marquette. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're in residence at Marquette, and hopefully we'll be for the next several years. Our next main stage production will be in January of 23, a play called "Cried Out" by Molly Smith Metzler, which is a fantastic contemporary piece about motherhood, parenting, the job economy for women, particularly women who've decided to have children. And it's also a commentary about racial economics of being a parent in corporate America. Again, sounds complicated and serious, but it's a really funny, touching play led by a group of incredibly powerful women storytellers. So we're excited.
So now I know your wife Liz is involved in the company. Is she going to be involved in that production?
Yeah, so Liz is my, one of the three co-founders, and she's the creative director essentially of Crescent City Stage. And yeah, she'll be one of the women in Cry It Out, and we hope to announce full casting sometime in October. We're excited about that. But right now we're focused on our inaugural play, Pantomime, and making sure we get as many people in the seats to see this piece.
Just a little shout out. Liz's mom and dad are well known to me, and I was. My son and Liz, of course, were I think contemporaries, and I knew Andrew very well as a child. So those of you who don't know, Andrew passed away from an accident. I think he was maybe in eighth grade, third grade, 8 years old or so, or somewhere around there. And just a real tragedy. And I know but that family was always a wonderful family, and I was pleased to see that Liz is doing so well, and especially in acting and doing things that make my heart go pitter patter. Tell me a little bit about your co-star, please.
Mike
Ray,
Forrest.
how did you come to cast him in this play? And what was the reasoning?
Well, we held auditions, and the auditions were initially when Michael Newcomer and I talked about this show. Our intention was for he and I to be in the play. And then we were thinking about, well, who would direct it? And we beat our heads, and then we were like incurring the cost of bringing a director in. And finally, Michael was like, you're a director, right? And I said, oh, yeah, I am. And so we decided that I would direct it because I'd been thinking about the show for about 2 years. And then we held auditions. We had an open call. You could be equity or non-equity and come and audition for the show.
Okay.
And Michael Forrest came in, and I thought he was charming, and he was gregarious, and he was eager to work on the script. And so I said, he's our guy. And I think at the time he was waiting to hear back from some Tyler Perry movie that he had also auditioned for, and that didn't pan out. And so
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
So like 6 days before we started rehearsal, he said yes. And we went, great, we're all in. So we got Michael Forrest, and he's so much fun to work with. He does things that I've never thought of, and his personality is what he does. What his personality brings to the part is something that I would never have been able to do. His presence, his youthful vigor, his training in I think it was the National Guard. He's so many different things that he brings to the table, and his commitment to this project makes it was such a joy to work with both Michaels on this show.
And again, that's a question I was going to now. When you got two cast members and they're both named Michael, and you say, Michael, do this, do they all both turn around at the same time? Or no?
I learned to say, Forrest, do this, Newcomer, do this.
I mean, that would be very confusing, but I understand. So you went by last name. Tell me a little bit again. Did you know about this show prior? I heard Michael say that you two were discussing it, but did you know about it before he brought it up to you, or were you familiar with this work?
I've known about this play for at least 20 years.
Wow. Okay.
It was introduced to me in my undergraduate play. My bachelor's degree is in my BA is in literature with an emphasis in playwriting. So I've known about this play since 1991, 92.
Yeah. And I just, had never been exposed to it, and I'm just wondering why. Maybe because he's from St. Lucia and not an American. Maybe he didn't get the credit he deserved. I don't know, but obviously, it's a strong work.
So,
go ahead, Michael.
In academic communities, we always think about the canon, who makes it into the canon, who's a part of the canon, and the canon is overwhelmingly male and it's overwhelmingly white. So the fact that you don't know about Derek Walcott isn't surprising. Many people don't know about Derek Walcott. There's a litany of amazing playwrights of color and women who don't make it into the American canon. So that's also one of the things that this brings up.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And Michael, how were you exposed to this as well?
So Amy Chafee, who's over at Tulane, a tenured professor over there, she started, was it in 2018, Ray? Ish. She started this Monday night salon series where professors, really anybody at the university, could bring a play to be read by professional actors and students that wasn't necessarily going to ever get produced, but they wanted to hear out loud. And Ray and I had a chance to read this play on one of those Monday nights. And 10 minutes into the reading, the room, we had a decent sized audience. Everybody was just leaning forward. Ray and I had never worked on the piece together. We just sat down with music stands. We were leaning in together, and it was just one of those nights of really. And this is pre George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. This is pre. Convictions and Blue Lives Matter. It was before all of that. We hadn't even really gotten into the Me Too movement, and there was still this palpable need at that time, 4 years ago, that this story had to be told, and not in a political or social sort of pounding of the table way.
You might have frozen that a little bit.
From the same sensibility of the kind of theater that we want to do, and certainly Crescent City Stage has this. Is theater that makes you think, makes you uncomfortable, makes you wake up the next morning and say, "Whoa, man, what was that?" Now, and Kinky Boots is the other sort of levity part of that, right? And to Donald's point, I got a chance to hear what he was saying, that it is still a powerful piece of theater in its narrative of gender identity and role and race reversal. And so, anyway, 2018, we read this play. We'd been talking about iterations of it, how to do it, and then as Crescent City Stage, got its 501c3 in place, and we were able to really start looking to the future. I thought, and brought it to the team, and this is how we start. This is the piece that we sort of plant our theatrical flag in the sand with, because it's exactly what we want. And here we are doing it. I couldn't be prouder that this will go down in history as the very first live production of Crescent City Stage, and that, if nothing else, that makes me damn proud as a theater owner.
Well, again, there are not many new theater companies that are springing up. Obviously, they've had some that have moved to new places, et cetera. One particular one has closed down that we all bemoan the loss of Southern rep. Again, times change. There are sensibilities that people have now that didn't exist perhaps 20 or 30 years ago when things were different. And so, like you mentioned, there are a lot of issues that are going on, and hopefully, the theater that exists today will conform to make way for the theater of tomorrow, and that requires rethinking, the whole concept of what you're doing, and knowing that the audience you're serving is a much larger audience than just perhaps what's been served in the past. So hopefully we can increase the numbers of people who will be going. That I think is the key to all of this, is that we can present intelligent, cogent pieces to a variety of audience, but we've got to make sure that everybody keeps coming back to the theater, because the theater, is really the spot where social change can be sparked. You don't get that at a baseball game or a basketball game or a football game. It's a whole different kind of experience. When that light goes out and you're sitting in a darkened theater, everybody is experiencing the same work all at the same time. It hasn't been filmed and re-edited and reshot, etc. It's there, given out to you for everybody to receive, and again, for everybody to also react, which is what is so important, that give and take. As a director, Ray, I have to ask, was there any one particular part of this play that you're especially happy with, the way it turned out? Was there anything that on reflection, was
I think the team is an amazing team.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that will happen with Amara. I think it's Amara Skinner, who created music that guides the tones of scenes. I think what Joan Long does with lights will take your breath away. I don't think there's any particular. There is one moment. There's a moment when Jackson Phillip, or Mike Forrest, who's playing Jackson, he is talking about it's what we call the Boss Buana Ifende section, and it gets a little ominous, and it's one of those moments where the set, the lights, the actors, and the sound are all working together, and it stops the audience. The audience holds their breath until the the moment gets released, and I think it's one of the prettiest moments in the show.
Well, again, the very first production of Crescent City Stage. Those of you who have not gotten your tickets yet, they are being performed. I think it's a two-hander. That means two people involved. So you've got, and I always say that's an interesting title, don't you think, two-hander? Because don't they have four hands in a two-hander, in a sense? I mean, really, when you think about it.
But you only need one hand to hold the script.
But you shouldn't be reading the script anyway. You should be off book, right? Anyway, so let me just say that you all are going to be performing this all the way till the end of the month. What's the closing date? Is it the 25th? 25th? Okay. So September the 25th, you have until from now, and it's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, 7:30 at night,
Thursday,
each night. Yeah.
Thursday through Saturday, 7:30, and then 2:30 on Sunday.
Oh, 2:30 on Sunday. Okay. So if you miss going to at night and you don't mind going against the Saints game, I guess 2:30 will work.
We did pretty well trying to avoid that.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
the Saints did pretty well coming back out of that. That was an interesting thing. I know that there was a comment before. I wanted to pass that on if we can. I'm trying to see if. Oh, well, I guess it's. Okay. I guess they're giving you applause or something. I'm not sure. Yep. Again, that looks like that's from your own people. I'm not quite sure. Take a look. See, it says Crescent City Stage. So y'all are giving plaudits for one another. But again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. First off, earlier we had Kinky Boots, and now we've got Pantomine. Both are new productions, just hitting the stage for the first time this week, and we hopefully will have an opportunity to revisit. Perhaps Michael will be able to, after a time, be able to come on. Maybe not in the next week or two, but maybe we'll be able to have him at a later date and talk a little bit about his experiences. And we also want to remind everybody that there are several other shows going to be opening as well. So it's back. Theater has actually come back. Those of you who are worried about going out without wearing a mask, people are not wearing masks necessarily in theaters. Those that want to can, and I guess you're having people come in with masks if they want to, whatever they feel comfortable. But
sure. We every guideline suggests that we can't require it. We trust people to take care of themselves. We have masks at the box office. We are certainly keeping ourselves safe. We want to be able to do the show. But what's most important to us is that people feel good and are able to attend and are healthy.
And again, Ray, I'm not to push the envelope here, but are you planning on doing anything else in terms of directing any other projects? Maybe not with Crescent City Stage, but what?
So in the spring, I won a grant from the Folgers Institute. We're going to be hosting a giant Shakespeare symposium, February 23rd through the 25th. And I will partner again with Crescent City Stage to do an experimental Othello project.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds very promising. Although that's around the time of Mardi Gras, isn't it? Is it after Mardi Gras?
It is 2 weeks after Mardi Gras.
Okay, good. Because that's always a problem, you know. Well, listen, thank you all for being with us. Again, I'm gonna ask you all to just stand by for a little bit while I say goodbye to everybody. Again, Michael Newcomer of Crescent City Stage, and from Tulane University, Dr. Ray Proctor, John Ray Proctor, actually, and we'll just stick around for a little bit while I say goodbye to everybody. Again, thank you all for being with us tonight. Again, my name is Alan Smason. I'm here with you on NOLA Theater Talk. We broadcast on a weekly basis, more or less, NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and my own YouTube channel. And again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Earlier tonight, of course, Donald Jones Jr., and for those of you who are wondering what else we're going to be doing soon, I think plan for next week, but we will have a show, I promise. So then I'll see you at the theater.